Hey guys!
And gals!
Today we will have a look at Soundstage, a new commercial module from VCV in collaboration with Veli, who brought us Plateau, Dexter and other beautiful modules. I also prepared a nice sound pack for my patrons concentrating on Soundstage, so if you're interested there will be a link in the description to this. And we will start with a short introduction. So Soundstage is basically a reverb module, but it will let you control many parameters that you don't see in normal reverb modules or plugins. So here I have a sample going to the first two inputs of Soundstage, and there are 4 inputs you can use, so you can mix different sources and have a nice big reflections party. So let's take the levels a bit up.
So that everybody could get a chance to use the parts.
This is how it sounds like right off the bat.
If you look inside, you see that it...
Now already you can see the yellow dots on the grid and the A and B dots, and this is where it gets interesting. So the grid is actually the room where the sound will reverberate. The yellow dots are the speakers, so to speak, from where the signals are flowing into the room, and you can see the levels also with this yellow halo around them. And the A-B are the microphones that will absorb the sound with the reverberation of the room and will flow to the outputs. Now we can change the position of the speakers, and I really hope you are with headphones on or listening with good speakers, because this is quite psychedelic.
Unsolved connections, so that everybody could get a chance to use the parts he needs for his particular problem. To start with,
So we can move from where the sound is coming from.
that it isn't just one solid computer, but a lot of individual parts, circuits.
And we can also change the position of the microphones themselves,
Someone would divide
so we can make them, put them closer to the sound source
unsolved
or further away.
so that everybody could get a chance to use the parts he needs for his particular problem. To start with, if you look inside, you see that
Very nice. Now we can also modify the room itself, so we can change its width,
which each has specialized function. Now it would be
and this will go
someone would divide
up to 300 meters.
into little parts, unsolved connections, so that everybody
We can change its length.
use the parts he needs for his particular problem. To start with, if you look
And now the sound sources are closer to the microphones, and of course
individual parts
the sound will travel
specialized function.
less distance,
Now it would be nice if someone would divide each computer
and we can change the height also.
parts, unsolved connections, so that everybody could get a chance to use the parts he needs for his particular problem. To start with, if you look inside, you see that it isn't just one solid computer.
And now since the room is bigger, we can also amplify the sound source even more. So here we have those green lights, so we can see the levels that the microphone or the microphones are absorbing.
Unsolved connections,
And I can turn this on, and if it goes red, you know you are clipping.
use the parts he needs for his particular problem.
So we have 3D control over the type of the room, which is quite cool.
You see that it isn't just one
We can also add filtering, so here we have low cut,
individual parts and circuits, which each have specialized function. Now it would be
from 10 Hz to 2000,
would divide the huge computer
and we have also high cut
unsoldered
from
connections,
200 Hz,
so that everybody could get a chance to use the parts
22,
for his particular problem. To start with, if you look inside, you see that it
we can also control the amount of reflections,
a lot of individual parts and circuits, which each have specialized function. Now it would be nice if someone would divide the huge computer
and the diffusion amount,
into little
how
parts,
diffused or smeared those reflections will be.
so that everybody could get a chance to use the parts he needs for his particular problem. To start with, if you look inside,
And of course with modulation everything comes alive, so here I have caudal, and I can modulate the X and Y.
which
And you
each
can
has
see this also. Oh man,
now it would be nice if someone would divide the huge computer
the X and Y,
unsoldered connections,
the first input of the second input, so everything is moving.
parts he needs for his particular problem.
We can also modulate the low cut, high cut, reflection, diffusion. We can also modulate the width, length, and height. You will see this later in the video. So we have lots of control over the sound, and we can use soundstage in a variety of situations. So let's really have a look at a few examples. Okay, so here I have an arpeggio going. I have chords also from VCV generating a 4-chord sequence, and this is going to ARP from Hampton harmonic, so it will take the chords and will arpeggiate them. This is sequencing interzone, also from Valley. So let's have a listen to this. I will send it directly to the mixer. This is the sequence. Very nice. Okay, so let's send this to input 1 on soundstage, and let's have a stereo sound. So we will use outputs A and B. A and B. Let's take the volume a bit up. Oh yes. Maybe put it here in the center a bit. So again, now we have one speaker. We have one input, one speaker, one sound source, and 2 different microphones that will receive the sound and the room itself and the sound of the room itself. And now we can add nice slow modulation to modulate the speaker. So let's use an LFO from Bog Audio. This one here, let's set it to slow. And let's modulate the X1 parameter. Let's make it even slower and lower the scale a bit. Oh yes, oh yes. Very nice. Let's make the room a bit bigger. Something like this. Maybe now we can raise also the level. Let's add a bit more reflections. We can take the diffusion down so that the reflections will be more distinct. Okay, now for fun, we can send the same signal to input 2. So now we have another speaker. And now let's modulate this with another LFO. Let's take just the level up a bit. Maybe place it, you know what, we can place it behind the microphones. Oh, yes. And now let's modulate its position with another LFO, even slower. Oh yes. So now we have even more movement. Oh yes. Oh yes, oh yes. Okay, let's now do something like this. Let's use the other 2 outputs so we can add 2 more microphones to the room. And let's send them to Flame from Volt to add some edge to the sound. So now we'll send C and D, and already you can see we have C and D also on the grid. Let's take them all the way left and right and quite further away from our sound sources. So speaker 2 will be closer to C and D, and it will be about the same distance from A and B, but one will go more to A and B than to C and D. So we have difference in the sound. For now, let's take the blend all the way down from Flame and send this to the mixer. Very nice. Now let's take the volume here a bit down and start adding some. Let's take the tone up and fuel down and start adding some distortion. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Just to add some edge. You can also send this to a send reverb I have here with plateau, of course, plateau. Just a bit, maybe not so a bit, but a bit. Very nice. I have here also down, I have a bass, a nice bass, I hope it's nice. The phrase sequencer sequencing the wave oscillator. Let's send this to the mixer. Oh yeah, take the levels a bit down. Oh yes. Oh man, this is so nice. Oh man. Oh man! Oh wow! Oh wow, this was nice. Okay, let's have a look at another example. Okay, so here we have some drums. I have here the gate sequencer from Impromptu, sequencing knock from Volt, and the snare drum from SV Modular, and the hi-hat from Hora. This is the kick. And snare. And hi-hat. Oh yeah. Very nice. And let's do something like this. Instead of going directly to the mixer, let's send the snare to input 1 of soundstage and the hi-hat to input 2, so we can mix and control the mix of those voices. So let's raise the volume just a bit for now. And let's send this to the mixer. So I will use A and B. Oh yes. Very nice. Let's take the lows maybe a bit, just a bit, let's say 250. A bit of a low cut. Okay, and now let's modulate everything with sample and hold. So I will use the sample and hold from Mokba, which is quite handy. This one we will run it with the multiplied clock, the multiplied by 4 clock. And now let's modulate the X and Y of both sounds. Oh yeah. Maybe place the microphones a bit differently. The speakers also. Oh yes. So we have lots of movement. Let's also modulate the reflections and the diffusion. Oh yeah. Okay, so we already have a nice layer on top of the drums. Now we can also map the room parameters. So if you want to have control over those with a MIDI controller, we can use, for example, the MIDI map module. You can select your device and then you can just map those parameters, the width, the length, and the height. So you can control them with MIDI, but we will use this mapping feature to modulate them with even more sample and hold. And for this we will use the micro map from Stormelder. With this we can map controllers inside of VCV. So let's map the width, for example. I just hit map and then click the width and you can see it's mapped. And now I can use another sample and hold. Maybe take the probability a bit down. Oh yes. Already lots of movement. Let's do the same for the height. So I will duplicate this micro map and map the height and use another sample and hold. Again, lower the probability. Oh yeah. So lots of movement. And again, we can control the mix. We can add even more voices here to input 3 and 4. So we have a 4-channel mixer. And we can place the voices inside a virtual 3D room. Very nice. Let's add a nice bass to this. I have here the modulo sequencer with 8 phase. So 8 phase is switching between different presets of the modulo. Sequencer, this is sequencing ONA from Nano. I'm mixing it into the bass module from Otin to get this 303 type sound. This is going once directly to the mixer and another time through a high-pass filter to a delay. Sounds like this. Oh yeah. So you can hear so much movement on the hats and the snares. Everything is moving. Okay, something I really like doing is sending drums through Rampage. So let's add Rampage from Befaco. And what we'll do is this, we will send output C to input A of Rampage, output D to input B. So we added two more microphones here in this virtual room. And now from the rising or falling outputs, we will get this crunchy, super crunchy sound that will add a nice layer. So let's send this from one from each channel so we get a nice stereo sound. Oh yes, oh yes. Oh yes. Oh man. Oh yes. Oh man. So much movement with the drums. Okay, let's have a look at another example. Okay, so this is something really fun and meditative you can do. You can set the room size to be as big as it gets. So I have here the width and length all the way up. And the height I'm modulating with the 8FO through the micro map again. Have the reflections and diffusion all the way up. And then the incoming sounds will live in this room for a long time, and you can build crazy atmospheres and pads. So here I have the 12 key, which I will use to control the XFX wave, and also have here the FM operator, just as another voice. So I have three different voices, or two different voices, but three different channels here. So three different speakers in this room. And I have two outputs going directly to the mixer, two more outputs going through clouds. And I have them set, you can see, in each corner of the room. And I'm modulating their position really slowly with the 8FO. So everything is moving really slowly. And now we can start adding some sounds. So let's do something like this. Some noise also. Now those sounds are living in this room. They are moving. Let's go with a different sound here. Oh man. yes, oh yes. Maybe one more time some noise. Man, this is really nice. Okay, so there are many more things you can do with Soundstage, endless hours of exploration. Again, I prepared a small sound pack for my Patreon, so if you are interested, there will be a link in the description. And that was it. Like always, there will be also links in the description to the different patches we looked at today. Feel free to download them and take a closer look. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you enjoy what I do, consider becoming a Patreon. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe and hit the bell. And have a good one.